In Joker, directed by Todd Phillips, we explore how a good man can transform into a monster with just one bad day. The film follows Arthur Fleck, a party clown with aspirations of becoming a comedian, who experiences a series of events that push him to the brink of madness. Joaquin Phoenix's masterful portrayal of the character immerses us in Arthur's fractured mind, showing how laughter can become a tragic contradiction of joy and suffering. From the start, we see Arthur struggling with his neurological condition, known as pseudobulbar effect, which causes him to laugh uncontrollably at inappropriate moments. This laughter, which should be an expression of joy, becomes a form of crying and anguish for Arthur. The script highlights how this condition makes it difficult for him to interact with the world, increasing his isolation and despair. One of the most heart-wrenching moments is when Arthur, after being beaten up by some kids while working, goes to see his therapist. His uncontrollable laughter becomes a barrier to communication, and his journal, filled with jokes and dark thoughts, reveals his desire to be seen and understood. The therapist, though well-meaning, represents a mental health system that cannot provide the support Arthur needs. The film also shows how Arthur seeks comfort and validation from his mother, Penny, and in his fantasies. One of the most revealing scenes is when Arthur imagines being invited on stage by TV host Murray Franklin, where he receives the acceptance and love he so desperately craves. However, the reality is that Arthur is constantly rejected and humiliated by society. The breaking point comes when Arthur, after being beaten and losing his job, kills 3 men on the subway. This act of violence feels like a release for Arthur, and his subsequent dance in the bathroom symbolizes the transformation of his identity. Here, we begin to see this Joker persona take over, an alter ego that allows him to express his pain and rage in a way Arthur never could. Arthur's interactions with other characters, such as his neighbor Sophie and his co-workers, show the duality of his personality. While Arthur is shy and seeks human connections, the Joker is bold and unafraid to use violence. This duality is physically manifested in how Arthur switches hands when writing in his journal, suggesting an internal struggle between his vulnerable self and his empowered self. The narrative of the Joker is not only a character study, but also a critique of the social and economic system that fails the most vulnerable. The film makes us question how the lack of support and compassion can turn a good person into a monster. The phrase, "all it takes is one bad day to reduce the sanest man alive to lunacy," quoted from the Joker comic, resonates deeply in the plot, showing the thin line between sanity and madness. Ultimately, Joker leaves us with a sense of discomfort and reflection. It reminds us that behind every monster, there might be a person who simply didn't get the help they needed. It is a call for empathy and the need to build a more inclusive and understanding society. Arthur Fleck, with all his tragedies and transformations, challenges us to look beyond appearances and question how we treat those struggling with mental health issues. The film ends ambiguously, with Arthur laughing in the psychiatric hospital and leaving bloody footprints, symbolizing the final death of Arthur and the birth of the Joker. This final transformation leaves us with a disturbing question: was all of this inevitable? Or could it have been prevented with a bit more compassion and support? The answer, perhaps, lies in how we choose to treat those who, like Arthur, are on the brink of the abyss.